Welcome to Collie Greens and Nerdy Things, your one stop shop for all things nerdy. My name is King, and this is my partner in crime, JC3. And today we're talking about Daredevil Born Again, episode 7. A big episode. So, Jay, kick it off. Tell me what your thoughts.
Man, I thought that this was yet again another great episode of Daredevil. We get a continuation of episode 7 and seeing the aftermath of the battle between Daredevil and Muse. We get to see Matt and Fisk's lives kind of start to intertwine now and start to come together because now, since Matt has donned the Daredevil suit again, now Fisk is on alert because what's that conversation that he had with him in the premiere episode? He told him like, "Hey, you suit up again, there's going to be consequences." And as soon as he finds out from his guy that Daredevil's back, he is on the warpath. Also, what's also playing a factor between these two again is Muse, and this episode does a fantastic job of going more in depth with that character and really showing how freaky and scary he can really be. I absolutely enjoyed the episode. Again, just great. What do you think, man?
I got to say, we kind of talked about a few of these off camera, but Muse is probably the most scary or imposing villainous characters we've really seen in Marvel so far, especially on a street level. I mean, Thanos was scary and what he did was scary, but Muse has a different layer of sinister to him that really puts him over the top. I thought personally this was a great episode. I thought it was a fantastic episode. It did pick up where we left off on episode 6 and coming into 7. I keep forgetting the young girl's name, but the young white tiger, as we're going to call her going forward. She kind of
Anya.
wakes up. Yes. She wakes up and, she's kind of recounting what's going on. She doesn't know that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and she's saying he saved me. And Matt's trying to get details. You can tell in that moment, different than what we've seen Matt before. He was angry. You know what I mean? He was upset. And he was upset that one Muse got away in episode 6 and that she was hurt in that. And on the other hand, Fisk is having his own struggles, right? Fisk is trying to really balance being both the mayor and keeping at bay his worst demons and being the kingpin, the leader of all of these respective gangs. And you're seeing a bunch of that start to pop off, and a couple of the characters and a couple of things happen that really explain. And that's more of the leader of the tracksuit gang, sweatsuit gang, whatever they are, tracksuit. Going up to Vanessa and kind of having the attitude like Fisk is a non-starter, or he has no influence anymore, even though he does have a great bit of influence. And I like that Vanessa kind of played it cheeky. She didn't really say anything. She didn't really do much, but you can tell that she was like, "Yeah, no, I don't step aside just because things were going better when I was in charge. In your opinion, doesn't mean they're going better for us."
Right. Yeah, I completely agree on that. Like you could tell that when she was having that meeting with Luca in the episode, that like he pointed out, like I can kind of see it. Like you enjoyed that power, and I mean, who wouldn't? Like when you're running your own empire and it's actually going smoothly, actually going better than the last guy that was running it. Yeah, you're gonna feel sometimes. You're gonna feel like you're that person to do it. But you could tell in her eyes that she did in a way miss the power, but at the same time, she is more of a loyal spouse. She is more of a loyal wife. Because I can personally say at no point did I think that she would ever turn on Fisk, at all through this whole time. So it was it was good in this episode in a way to get a finalization of how that whole subplot went. We kind of got our answer to what she was going to do by the end of the episode, which we'll talk about later. But I did enjoy just wondering, just having that little thought in the back of my head of, like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Right. I enjoyed that too. It was kind of him trying to sweat her a little bit and trying to like, uh extend his reach as a mob boss and say that he's more on top, not knowing that there's a much larger picture going on in the storyline. So he doesn't end well, and like you said, we'll get to that a little bit later in this episode, but things don't really end well for him. And I was thinking about this when I had texted you yesterday, just trying to get my theories out before you watched it. And I thought for a minute that uh, Fisk's assistant, and I think his name's Buck,
Yes.
his
Fuck.
assistant. Yeah. So his assistant, something about him and his eyes and the way that he carried himself for a minute in a couple of those scenes really had me thinking that he could be the true identity of Muse. And here on the channel, I'd like to say I was wrong. I was definitely wrong. The next scene really tells me the truth, and you start to have this young man who's coming into seek counseling from Daredevil's girlfriend, and they clearly have this former, you know, sessions and conversations, and you can see that he's kind of getting comfortable and trying to allude something to her, and trying to tell her something about being able to be his real self. And he starts to kind of draw on this paper, and they really ratchet up the intensity in this scene. And as it starts to unfold, man, is that some peak MCU if there ever was one? What did you think of that scene?
Man, uh, I knew that scene, first off, amazing and terrifying at the same time. I knew that he was going to be somebody relevant because I recognized that actor. I believe his name is Hunter Duha. He was in the Wednesday TV show. So when I saw him, I was like, oh, okay, you might play more of a role here than I thought. And then I also remembered, and actually, no, I was reminded that he was in an earlier episode when he came to Matt's girlfriend Heather, just to ask for her help for therapy. So we kind of get a continuation of that in this episode. But seeing his demeanor and just knowing that there was something off about him and how the tension just built up and built up until we get to that point where he really feels like he's gotten to the point where he trusts her, and he shows that by acting very weird, kind of obsessive. And then we know that something's going to pop off when this man's nose starts to bleed, and you're just seeing the terror in Heather's face, as he's with his blood drawing who he actually is, and who he is, of course, is Muse, and that reveal was in a way I felt like I was Heather, just waiting to see what this guy was going to do next, and the way he approaches her and tries to not really try to calm her down, but just playing with her, just toying with her, and just telling her, I know what you're thinking. How fast can I get to the door in time? And that I feel like if any of us were in a situation like that, we would just feel the same way. We will be the same way. We will be scared, terrified of that. So they again in this episode they really showed how Muse is just a sick, terrifying individual, and how he will go to any lengths to present his art.
Absolutely, man. Like in that conversation, when it starts to dawn on her who he really is and that something is kind of off, he does this thing where he's talking and she tries to go to the next subject and he's like, "You're not listening." and he starts to become a little more aggressive, and that's that nosebleed. And then he's talking about how he can really be himself in front of her. And once he starts to get closer to her, you can see in her eyes, the tears are already starting to fall. She's realizing, oh, this is the guy from the news. This is the guy who's been doing all of this horrific stuff in the neighborhood. And you're right. She didn't. I think we were all that. They did a good job of keeping that tension high for the audience and making you feel like you were her, because you really didn't know what she was going to do. You didn't know if help was going to come in time. You didn't know what was going to happen. And once he said that to her, she tried to get up. She didn't make it, but she tried. And then
She
there's
did.
that scuffle that comes in up, and they're trying to go back and forth. Luckily, along the way, uh, Matt realizes that he's coming for her. And he realizes that, interestingly enough, by touching one of the paintings that Muse had made. But he made the paint kind of work almost in a 3D manner, where the layers of paint were kind of 3D, and Matt could feel the surface, and it felt like his girlfriend's face, because Matt is textile since he can't see, and he knows that face structure. And I thought it was kind of funny when he realized that and then looked up and the cop said, "Hey," and then he had to like throw his stick at him and knock him out. And then he was kind of like, "Oh man, shoot." And then he pieces out to go help. He he shows up in the nick of time, man. Just in the nick of time.
He definitely does. I'm glad you brought that up because now that that happened, I'm kind of hoping that, maybe in these last two episodes, they have a reason for Daredevil just to keep knocking out that crooked cop. That's the same cop, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, uh, that he beat down in episode 2, and we thought that initially he had broke his neck, but again, the guy just came away with his face messed up. So, if he keeps getting tuned up in each episode, I'm definitely okay with that. That's fine. Um, and I love also how you brought up how Matt realizes that Muse is going after Heather, because that was just a cool way for them to show him doing that. But at the same time, it's like you kind of feel for Heather too, just because earlier in the episode she was trying to get Matt to open up because she knew that there was something off with him. And she's a therapist. It's her job to read people and know these things. And he's not giving her an inch. He gave her something, but he didn't give her that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but it's kind of sad how she's trying to get her dude to open up, and he's not giving her anything. But then she has the psycho who takes people's blood and makes art out of it. She gets that guy to open up. It's terrible, tragic. But then, as you said later on in the episode, when he does catch Heather and he's starting to drain her, that's when Matt shows up in the nick of time to have another brawl. Which again, continuing from episode 6, this was amazing and bloody and brutal. It's crazy to me that Muse, because I believe they said that he had taekwondo lessons from a
Correct.
master, and I think yes, and he trained for about 2 to 3 months, and this dude was legit taking Matt to his limit. But I gotta say the scene that stands out for me, also terrifying, is seeing Muse with a knife running after Heather trying to stab her, and then Matt catches him with his billy club hook, and then in the shoulder, right through the shoulder, and hooks him back in. And that scene was beautiful. And then proceeds to beat the crap out of Muse until, shockingly enough, somebody gets their hands on a gun. That somebody being Heather, and she pops that fool 3 times. And oh, wasn't it a sight to see? Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree, man. I mean, it was interesting enough when Muse was fighting Daredevil. There was something that I noticed throughout that. His obsession with Heather was overpowering him in that moment. Even though he's fighting Daredevil, he's only trying to kind of get him off of him so that he can go and kill Heather. he keeps trying to strive towards her and get her. And in that last moment, he tries and then he gets beat up. And then once he gets really beat up and hurt and bloodied, then she really lays those bullets in him. And then the next thing that's really interesting is Matt has to get the hell out of there. He's trying to do what he can because she has a laceration. So he gives her a quick med pack type deal. Like he puts a tourniquet on her and kind of pieces out because the cops were already breaking into the building. And the vigilante task force knows that he was there, and Fisk comes in, and one of the guys is telling him, "No, he was here. He was here." And Fisk, being the guy that wants to kind of keep control over things, says, "No, you guys got Muse. He was never here." And it kind of alludes to he doesn't want the public to know Daredevil's back in action. He wants to handle it himself.
Exactly.
So I find that to be really interesting. And overall, the episode was a really good episode. So I would suggest everybody to take some time and go check out the episode and then come back, watch our show, and then get in those comments and let us know what you think. We left out some of the gorier stuff. I'd rather you guys watch it than us tell you. But we would hope that you would come in, join us in the comments, let us know what you think, how you like this episode, how's this whole season going so far. So comment, like, subscribe, come holla at your boys. We're here and we're happy that you have shown us so much love over the beginning of this season. So we appreciate you. And for us to you, I'm King.
And I'm JC3. One more thing, y'all. Told you what was gonna happen to Luke at the end. My man got pop mafia style while Fisk was eating his dinner like a boss, So because that's what mayors do. That's what mayors do nowadays. So we'll leave you with that. Thank you again for the love support. We love you guys.